جبت السعد لحالك وانا ضليت نيالك مهدى بالك يا طير البيت جبت السعد لحالك وانا ضليت نيالك مهدى بالك يا طير البوم حشت الورد لحالك وانا المحروم نيالك مهدى بالك يا طير البوم حشت الورد لحالك وانا المحروم نيالك مهدى بالك شو عبالك أنا ذويت وجبت السعد لحالك نيالك مهدى بالك شو عبالك أنا ذويت وجبت السعد لحالك نيالك مهدى
Hi, everybody. So glad you could all make us meet us here today. My name is Wassim. I'm with the Arab Resource and Organizing Center based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm going to be your moderator today. I'm here to host this amazing conversation between two wonderful people, Jody Sokolower and Jawad Siyam, coming to us from Palestine today. Thank you so much, Jawad, for making it. First, before we begin, I'm gonna quickly make an acknowledgement of land in the lands of Turtle Island, what we now call the United States. I'd like to recognize the indigenous people of this land, its traditional stewards. For me in Oakland, it's the Ohlone people, who are its original caretakers. We want to honor the resistance of all indigenous people fighting for their homelands from here to Palestine. And just as we know that one day Palestine will be free, we know that our indigenous siblings here on Turtle Island will also liberate their homelands. Just to get started real quick, I want to introduce our speakers today. First, Jody Sokolower is co-coordinator of the Teach Palestine project at the Middle Eastern Children's Alliance. She's the author of Determined to Stay, Palestinian Youth Fight for Their Village, which is going to be sort of one of the main topics of conversation today. She's an educator who's taught middle school and high school students, teachers, and future teachers, focusing often her work on Palestine and Palestine solidarity these days. Jawad Siyam is a longtime Silwani community leader, contributor to Determined to Stay, and he's the founder in Silwan of the Wadi Hilwa Information Center and the Mada Creative Center, where they host programming for Silwani youth and women and serve as a community organizing center for Silwan. We're going to get started here with the conversation today. As you guys are here, feel free to put any questions you have in the Q&A. There'll be some time at the end to get into the Q&A, and we'll have be able to take a couple questions, and hopefully Jody and Jawad will be able to answer those and get some more discussion. Jody, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Wassim. I also want to thank Palestine Shoman, who's 10 years old. She's a Palestinian American student, and she created that the photo loop that you were just watching. I'm talking to you from Berkeley, California, on land stolen from the Ohlone people. I'm only a few blocks from the West Berkeley Shell Mound. Could you show that first slide, Leanne? This shell mound was part of a village that was the first place that humans ever lived in the San Francisco Bay Area more than 5,700 years ago. Now, the West Berkeley shell mound, which was plundered and desecrated, is covered in asphalt. It's a parking lot. Leanne, can we get the slide?
They're coming in just one moment.
Okay. I'm telling you this as a land acknowledgement, and also because there are such visceral connections between the land I'm standing on, the land each of us is standing on, and what's happening in Palestine. Silwan encompasses so many of those connections. If we can really fight in solidarity with Silwan, and if we can make sure this generation of youth sees the connection between freedom in our own lives and freedom for Palestine, it will be an enormous step toward liberation and peace. Could you back up just one, Leanne? Yeah. So this is the Berkeley Shell Mound. You can see it's a parking lot. And this is a demonstration and spiritual ceremony that's being led by Karina Gould, who's an Ohlone leader fighting for the shell mound, and she's one of the people who's featured in the book. Okay, now we can move on. Thank you. I went to Palestine for the first time in 2012. I'm an educator, a social studies teacher, and I was working with Ziad Abbas Shamroush from the Middle East Children's Alliance, doing workshops to support teachers to bring Palestine into their classrooms. To do that work well, I needed to see for myself. Being in Palestine, for me, like for so many other people, was life-changing. I went to Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Beit Zuhur, Hebron, Ramallah. The last day, I went to Silwan. Silwan is a village dating back to ancient times, just south of Jerusalem's beautiful old city. Next slide, please. So on the map on the left, you can see where Jerusalem is in relationship to occupied Palestine. And in the map on the right, you can see Jerusalem, the outline of Jerusalem's old city, and Silwan just south of it. The Israelis see control of Jerusalem's old city and the area around it as central to their plans to make Jerusalem the capital of Israel. Because Silwan is so close to the old city, the Israelis are trying to force Palestinians to leave the village, but the Silwanis are determined to stay. Here you can see Silwan in the foreground and the old city in the middle, and with the Golden Dome of the Rock. I could see the conflict in Silwan as soon as I walked out the Mughrabi gate of the old city, wove through dozens of Israeli tour buses and yelling tour leaders, and walked down Wadi Hilwa Street. The first thing I saw on the left side of the street was King David National Park, a huge sprawling museum that's a monument to why Israel thinks it can throw all the Palestinians out of Silwan. Elad, the Israeli development company behind the park, spearheads the campaign to ethnically cleanse Silwan. They've built miles of tunnels under Silwan, destroying houses, schools, a mosque. The park has an amphitheater, Segway tours, movies, a party room. Every time I've been back, it's expanded. King David Park is an archaeological Disneyland with villainous goals. Just a few doors down the street from King David Park is a small building with a red metal door. It's the home of Mada Creative Center for Kids and the Wadi Hilwa Information Center. Those kids in front of the door are Jawad Siyam, who we're so lucky to have here today, started both organizations to unite community resistance, to support children and their families, and to give the kids the chance to experience what Jawad calls a little of their childhood. The first time I visited, Jawad showed me around. We saw kids working in the computer center, practicing hip hop, reading in the tiny library. We visited the women's workshop where they were making mosaic tabletops. Jawad took me to a new project of theirs, a beautiful cultural center with a sports field, murals, a whole schedule of events for the community. We had coffee and pastries in the cafe. The coffee in tiny cups was thick, sweet, and smelled of cardamom. And that's a picture of me and my daughter Erica in the cafe. I was awed by the creative, vibrant resistance to the outrageous efforts to erase Palestinians from Silwan, both current Palestinians and Palestinian history. Those efforts go hand in hand in Palestine, just like here. 2 weeks after I got back to the US, Israel demolished the cafe for a parking lot. I couldn't believe it. Why wasn't anyone talking about this? I was so angry and upset. I didn't know what to do. So I wrote a book. Ziad and I had often talked about the lack of accurate, engaging books for youth about Palestine. I decided to use the story of Silwan as a way to illuminate Palestine's history and current reality. I wanted the book to be accessible, something that kids could read and that would help them see the connection between their lives and Palestine. And I wanted to center the voices of Silwani youth. When I went back to Silwan the next time to start interviewing youth and their families, I asked Jawad what I should focus on. There are 3 things, he told me. The criminalization of Palestinian children to force their families to leave. And here you can see this soldier, he's undercover. See the keffiyeh, he was dressed as if he were a Palestinian. And then he sees this youth and then pulls on this balaclava with the Hebrew letters identifying him as Israeli security forces. The second aspect Jawad wanted me to talk about was the demolition of Palestinian homes and the outright theft of Palestinian land by Israeli settlers. This is a family in Silwan after their home has been demolished by the Israelis. And third, the City of David National Park and the use of archaeology as a tool of continuing colonial conquest. And be sure, he reminded me, to put our resistance, our determination to stay in Silwan in the center. This is a demonstration in Al-Bustan against the efforts of the Israelis to wipe out that entire neighborhood of Silwan in order to expand King David Park and build what they call the King's Garden. So focusing on those things, that's what I tried to do with Determined to Stay, Palestinian Youth Fight for Their Village. There's so many stories in the book, and I want to share excerpts from just 2 to give you a brief idea. So Musa's story speaks to how the Israelis arrest Silwani children, some as young as 5, over and over, to try to make their families feel that they need to leave Silwan in order to protect their kids. Sahar Abbasi, the deputy director of Mada Creative Center, translated for us. And this is a picture of a child on home arrest. It's not Musa. It's a picture of another child in East Jerusalem, because this story is going to be talking some about house arrest. I'm the youngest in my family, Musa told me. I have 6 older sisters and 1 brother. We live in the Ein al-Loza neighborhood of Silwan. He's the one who everyone is spoiling with love, Sahar said. Wait, I said, did he say that or did you say that? I asked him if he's spoiled and he laughed and said, yeah, I'm the spoiled one. Ask him about his school. I like my teachers, Musa said. They care about us, but our school was a shelter and then they turned it into a school. The walls are filthy and broken. I'm on the soccer team, but we have to play indoors. The playground got filled with sewage, so we can't use it. Sometimes we find the Israeli police blocking the entrance at the school gates. They search our backpacks. Early this school year, my friend had a broken ruler in his bag. They said it was a weapon. So they took him away to court. He was under home arrest for 2 months and they fined his family. For a broken ruler? I couldn't believe it. Yeah, and now he's afraid to hold anything that could make him have to go back to jail. How did that experience affect your friend? Because he was under house arrest, he couldn't leave the house, even to go to school. When he came back, he had changed. He lost a lot of time at school, and the teachers told him that he might not pass this year, so he'll be a year behind. Before he was arrested, he liked to play and go out with us. Now he just finishes school and goes home. Sahar asked Musa, do you want to talk about when you got arrested? Okay. When I was 6 or 7, me and my cousins went to buy falafel. It was about 7 in the evening. There were police in the road far away, but they saw us. We were eating, but they thought we were getting ready to throw rocks at us, sorry. They went after us, so we ran up the mountainside. They threw a sound bomb at us and grabbed us. I was so scared. I didn't know where they took us or what they were going to do to me. They asked why we were throwing stones and who was with us. We told them we weren't throwing stones and no one was with us. Some of the questions were in Arabic, but some were in Hebrew. I don't know Hebrew. They didn't hit us, but they hit the table very hard, making a loud noise to scare us. Finally, at 1 a.m, my father came and paid a fine and they let us go. Does that mean he has a police file? I asked Sahar. I'm not sure, she said. What do you do for fun? I asked Musa. What are your dreams for the future? I want to be a professional soccer player. My favorite player is Messi and my favorite team is Barcelona. It's hard for me to play though, because of the settlers and the soldiers. My mother's always worried what will happen to me. So if I have soccer practice, I can only go if it's right by our house. Then this is Sarah. Sarah's story is an example of Israel's use of home demolitions to force Palestinians out of Silwan, and also how young Palestinians express resistance. The translator here is Jawad Siyam, Jawad's brother. I'm 14 years old, Sarah began, settling her baby nephew on her lap. My favorite subjects at school are Arabic and English. I'm in a special writing class after school. With lots of my friends. I love Debka and other kinds of dancing too. Once I start dancing, I go crazy. I lose my mind. What's your first memory of the settlers? I asked. The day when they demolished our home, she said. I was little at that time, 8 years old. They were standing in front of the door of our house. I went to see, but the house was surrounded by police and their dogs. I asked my sister what was going on. She told me to stop talking. I asked why. They've come to bulldoze our house, she said. If you don't stop talking, they'll hit you. They locked us in a room downstairs and we could hear them tearing our house apart over our heads. Did they give you a reason? I asked. We were adding onto the house without a building permit. If you're Palestinian, they won't give you a permit, even to add one room. Then if you do it anyway, they use it as an excuse to demolish your whole house. That's what happened to us. How did the situation affect you? Nihad asked. Afterwards, I kept dreaming the same nightmare about what happened that day. Sometimes I still see it in my dreams. For a long time, I felt afraid, but I am not afraid anymore. It's hard to be a young woman here because the settlers are trying to take over the Al-Aqsa Mosque. We women and girls have been demonstrating, occupying the mosque to keep it safe. When the settlers and the soldiers barge in, we chant, God is great. This is not violence or terrorist words. It's part of our religion. But one of the women soldiers hit me and one of the men threw a noise bomb right at my leg. This makes me scared and nervous. Every day while going to the mosque, I have to pass by many settlers, and I know that I might not get back home. I might be beaten. I might face 100 fates. My school is in a different neighborhood in Silwan. Sometimes it's difficult to get there, sometimes not. One day recently, the settlers took over a house near us. I was leaving for school when the Israeli army surrounded the area. I told them I just wanted to go to school, but they said no one was allowed to move. I told them, I don't want to be late for school. I have an exam at 7:30 already. No, they yelled at me. You're not allowed to go. Because I told them I needed to get through, they threw noise bombs and tear gas at us. One of the soldiers even hit me in the face with his stick and shouted, "Get away from here." They wouldn't let anyone go out to work or school. "What's it like at school?" I asked. "Do the teachers support you?" "We want to know our history. Sometimes we do it with our teachers secretly, talking about Palestinian history. Talking about Palestinian history is forbidden because our school's run by the Israeli Jerusalem municipality. The teachers are supposed to give the students the education the municipality wants, the history of Israel, not the history of Palestine." So our history teacher tries to mention that there is Palestine, but the history I know, really, I learned it from my father and from Mada. Nihad added, "This is the thing about Israel. They think they're so smart when they want Sarah's generation to grow up in fear. They think they'll stop them from thinking about the situation, that they'll feel inferior and they won't do anything. But they're creating the opposite response. The young people are growing up surrounded by hatred, and that makes them think, why are they acting like this? We have to search and find out why. So the Israelis are pushing this generation of Palestinians to study our history." "Is there anything else you want us to tell teenagers in the United States?" I asked. "We Palestinians are patient," Sarah said. "We know God is with us, whatever happens. Even if it hurts, we have to stay determined and strong to fight the enemy who wants to take our country and wants to do wrong to us. We have the determination to struggle, and we have the patience for it. We believe that we will get our rights back. What they were doing to us, the occupation, doesn't make us weak. It makes us stronger. My hope is that Determined to Stay will be a tool to enrage and inspire youth, everyone, to see how important fighting for Silwan is to all our futures. The initial response to the book has been incredibly positive. Our goal now is to get Determined to Stay into as many classrooms, book groups, libraries, and bookstores as possible. We'll talk more about that in a little later. But now it's such a privilege to bring another Silwani voice into the room, this one live from Silwan, the extraordinary community leader, Jawad Siyam, founder of Mada Creative Center and Wadi Hilla Information Center. Jawad.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you very much. I was really listening, and you brought up things like the demolishing of the cultural cafe. One of the things that we don't understand until today why they did demolish it, because actually we did not have demolishing orders that time. It was when we asked, why did you demolish? And we tried to get clarification. The answer was it was a cleaning order, not demolishing orders, because they considered our cultural cafe as a garbage. And there is a law for the National Park Authority, the Israeli National Park Authority. There is a law that they consider the Silwan area, most of the neighborhoods in Silwan, they consider it as a national park, and they consider us Palestinians as a criminal. We build their houses, we build on their history, and anything we building, anything we are doing, it's considered as a garbage. So if the municipality does not demolish, the National Park Authority will demolish. So thank you, Judy, for bringing up this cultural cafe, which makes it very clear about the racism that they are using against us, and the Elad Association is opening now cafe to tell their history. So we are not allowed to make a cultural cafe to talk about our history, to talk about the story. We even are not allowed to think about it. But they, in Wadi Rababa area, they took tens of dunams of land in order to serve a cafe for Elad, to bring Jews from all over the world to make weddings in this cafe. Do you hear me, or I'm talking to myself? I don't know.
We can hear you.
Thank you. So I hope I can cover what I can, the time I have with the thing that because Judy has been talking about MADA and Wadi Halwa Information Center. I will not talk a lot. So the things that you can also get it online. I mean, if you go to our website, but still, I want to say something about why MADA Creative Center, why we established MADA Creative Center, because we saw that the Israeli government, the occupation, has been trying all the time since the first day since occupying Jerusalem, and I know it from my childhood. They want us to be uneducated, and if we get the education, we get very bad education. So we have in our books in the schools that is stamped by the military in Jerusalem. They say Jerusalem is a civil right, is a civil law, but our books, school books, were stamped. It's controlled by the military, the Israeli military. We are not allowed to talk about Nakba. We are not allowed. Even today, you are not able to talk about Mahmoud Darwish or to use the poem of Mahmoud Darwish. We are not able to talk about our literature. So, so MADA was not in order to talk about politics or to teach children politics or to teach them anything. It just in the beginning was to find a safe space for them, because the fact that the children are thrown into the street because the Israeli municipality and the occupation didn't do anything to put any safe place for the children. I want to tell you that we are a Palestinian in East Jerusalem, considered as temporary residents for the Israeli occupation. We pay taxes like the rest of the Israelis, but we are temporary residents. We turned from being citizens of the city into temporary residents. That means if you you have it in USA, if you have a green card in USA, it's even stronger than what we have here in Jerusalem. With our temporary residency, we can lose it. We can lose it by any Israeli law, by the Interior Ministry of Israel, that they decide once that we are not able to continue living in Jerusalem. So once you lose your residency, you lose your authority in your land. Then they consider your land, your house, as part of the absentee properties law. So they will take your land, you will take your house, and they will give it to the settlers. So I mean, I'm mixing things together, but they all together. I mean, all the pressure was most of the pressure was coming on the children. Why the children? Why? Because half of the population of Jerusalem people is under the age of 18 years old. That time, I don't know now exact number. So the Israelis were aware of this. In order to destroy the Palestinian society, you have to destroy the children. You have to destroy their dreams. And this is also the mentality of Golda Meir in the very beginning, when she said, "Old people dies, young people forget." So this is the mentality that they were dealing with us, whether the settlement association, or the Israeli government, or the municipality. So we decided we will not give our land and give our life and give our literature, give our culture. We will not give up anything. So we decided to educate our children. We did not educate our children to hate Israel. We educate them to love Palestine, but they did succeed to educate them how to hate them. They want children to love them by force. If they don't love them, then it is terrible thing. This could cause any child to be arrested. Whether you can see that children in age of 6 years old, children have been arrested. They are 9 and 10 years old children. They have been taken in the middle of the night to the jail, and that they say, okay, it's only investigation. it's spending the night by the police. It's only investigation. I tell you, give me any child 5 minutes, any child, give me a child 5 minutes, and I will give it back to you, and I destroy his life. I can destroy his life in 5 minutes. They take the children, how they treat them in the jeep inside the police car. They destroy them before they get into the investigation. And when they come to the investigation, they don't allow them to be with the parents. They don't allow them to be with the lawyers. They use the military law for investigating Palestinian children in Jerusalem. They tell you sometimes we use the military law in West Bank, but we don't use it in Jerusalem. The fact that they do use the military law indirectly in Jerusalem, the same like they do it in Hebron and other cities. You can see that Silwan is considered as a national park. The settlers say it's a city of David. King David came here 3,000 years ago, but still Silwan is much older than King David. I mean, even if King David was here 3,000 years ago, we don't mind. He could be part of the story. But they say, no, he came and he built this city, and this belonged to King David. So for us, I don't want to argue about the story if King David was here or not. If he was here, he was our guest. I mean, it's supposed to be our guest because the village is much older than King David. And moreover, King David for us is a prophet. So they choose who belongs to them, who doesn't belong to them. They, few settlers in a small area, they decide for the rest of the world. They decide also for many Americans. They steal your money by by paying the tax money to the government and get it to the settlers. How? I tell you how. For example, Meskovich, he passed away. The one who has casinos in Las Vegas, he gives money to the Jawad Association, or was giving money, and still his son is giving money. And in his clarification, he's saying he buys houses for poor people in Silwan in order not to pay taxes. You know this law in USA. In order not to pay taxes, he gives the money to settlers, and he make clarification. He's buying houses for the American government and the Israeli government and all the Western government and all the world knows that the settlers are telling lies. They know, but still okay. They spoil them. They keep spoiling the settlers, which is good for us, spoiling them, because if you keep spoiling the child, that means he will go. He will end someday, and we believe the settlers and the occupation will end through this too much spoiling them. Imagine today that the Jawad Association is saying in there they say our goal is to make Jewish majority in East Jerusalem. Imagine I make an association in USA, I don't know, in African community, and I say I want to make white majority. Would I get permission to work there? They still get the permission, they still get the money, they still get the visits of the American ambassadors, embassy here, this support. For us, I don't want to tell you that you, not you, I don't mean you. I mean the government in USA, in Europe, in also Arabic countries, in the Arabic countries also, in many Arabic countries, they are part of the crime. Why are they part of the crime? Because once we talk about our culture, once we define ourselves as Palestinians, once we talk about our history, we are criminal. I mean, we can see it in the social media. Even in the social media, we cannot express ourselves. So the question, if the world wants to continue spoiling the thing that called Israel, they couldn't continue. We are sure this spoiled child has an end. And for us today, we have a duty to struggle against settlers, to struggle against occupation, and we have the right to decide which method we use. So Mada Creative Center is not about struggling against occupation. It's about building a society, a healthy society. Even this, they don't want us to build a healthy society. Like they demolished the cultural cafe, they destroyed our playground, they We have also demolishing order now for the information center, and according to the Israeli law, the NGOs, when they are serving the community, they don't have to pay taxes. But for MADA, we have to pay 150,000 shekel a year, arnona. I don't know, we call it the kind of taxes. So they is not only not letting us pay, not letting us paying this kind of taxes. They bought on us. They consider us as a business. They want us just to leave. They want us not to speak. You can say as Palestinian, if you shut up, you are okay. If you speak, you are a criminal. But if still, whatever you say, it's wrong. You know, even in the front of the Western world, in the front of everyone, we Palestinians are always like wrong. But we got to the point that we don't care. We don't care who considers us wrong or right, because we know. I tell you this little story, and I will end here because I don't know if I now spoke maybe more than 20 minutes. I don't know, but I want to tell you this little story to tell you how the story about the guy with an old man with his son and the donkey. When he was going through the village, he was on the donkey, and the villagers started to say, "Look, this is bad, father. He lets his son walks, and he's in the donkey." So they changed the position. The son was in the donkey. They say, "Yeah, the son does not respect his father." The other time, both of them were on the donkey. They say, "Poor donkey, how could carry two people?" The other time, both of them walked next to the donkey. They say, "Stupid people, they have a donkey, they don't use it." In the end, they have to carry the donkey, and the donkey falls down and dies. So this is the way how the world wants us to satisfy and to say we are okay, we are good, we are not criminal, we are. No, we are not. We are struggling and we are fighting for our rights, which is clear for all the world. I'm not. Maybe Jody brought me to talk about MADA and our work, but my work is not as important as what is going on. This kind of crime, the daily demolishing houses. They say it's not. We don't get permission for the houses, but we never get permission. And moreover, if you want to demolish my house, why you demolish the house and take the land? Leave me the land. They demolish the house and take the land. And I say again and again, the one who needs permission is the occupation, not me. I'm not supposed to get from the occupation any permission. They need the permission from me. No, I don't need permission from them. So Judy, I'm sorry you brought me to bring about MADA and so, but I cannot leave this issue with the secular crime, with the police crime, with every day arresting children, demolishing houses. I just came 2 hours ago from someone who's demolishing his house because he does not. If the municipality come and demolish his house, he has to pay like 200,000 shekel for letting them demolishing the house. I talk to you also. I don't like to come up with my private issue, but I talk to you now, and my nephew is in jail. He was arrested. So this is the way how they deal with us. They want us still to like Israel. I mean, what do they do? Something very nice to us to like them? No, I don't mind that our children hate Israel. I did not teach them to hate Israel. Israel is able to teach them itself how to hate them. I teach my children how to love Palestine, how to respect our own self, our dignity. Our dignity is more important than any other issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jody, Jawad, for those powerful words. We have some questions in the Q&A. I am going to, real quickly though, go over some quick solidarity asks. We feel it would be sort of irresponsible of us to put on this panel and have Jawad speak to you so eloquently about the struggle for and the resistance in Palestine, and Jody speak about her book without some concrete asks of solidarity that we could make of people. Leanne, would you mind putting up the slides?
Coming now.
All good. So first things first, I would recommend going to the Meta Creative Center's website and checking that out, and to stay in touch with what's happening in Silwan and other Palestinian villages in Jerusalem. You can check out Wadi Hilwa's Information Center's website. I would recommend donating as well to the Meta Creative Center, which Jawad talked about for us. You can go to the Middle Eastern Children's Alliance's website and click on donate, and then mark your donation to Meta Creative Center. That's been posted in the chat. Furthermore, there's a few bigger picture things that are happening in Palestine right now that folks should be aware of. Recently, Palestinian human rights and civil society organizations have been falsely charged with terrorism by the Israeli state. The state of Israel declared that the work of these 6 Palestinian human rights organizations was terrorism. It's repression that's threatening to shut down these leading organizations that document Israelis' apartheid, settler colonialism, and abuse, and cages their workers via administrative detention through this terrorism designation. So call your congressperson and make a demand that the US take action. And you can take more, learn more with this toolkit, which I'm going to put into the chat here. There we go. Then also right now, there's one of the most important bills in Congress in support of Palestine is HR 2590, the Palestinian Children's and Families Act. It has been introduced by Betty McCollum, stating that the United States will not fund the Israeli government's imprison and torture of Palestinian children, theft and destruction of the homes or property, or further annexation of Palestinian land. And here is a resource guide that you can follow for that. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Let's get into the questions. Jody, Jawad, you guys ready?
Wassim, I'm ready, but could you show the slide about the book and how people can order the book?
Oh yeah, Leanne, could you get to that slide, please, real quick? Yeah, so this is Determined to Stay, the book that that brought Jody and Jawad together and brought them here for us today. It was just named the best book for teens in 2021 by the New York Public Library, and it's received starred reviews from Publishers Weekly, Kirkhouse, and Booklist. And there's reviews in a bunch of education platforms, and people love this book. I love this book. It's fantastic. You can order it here, Determined to Stay, Palestinian Youth Fight for Their Village. It's been posted in the chat. And if you'd like to teach this in the classroom, if you're an educator and have any interest in this, you can email Jody at jody@meccaforpeace.org. Jody been working on a lot of different things together, so she's an incredible educator. I would really recommend reaching out.
In the interest of honesty, I have to say it was named one of the best books for teens, not the best book for teens.
One of the best books. Got it.
Thanks.
Well, I'd like to start us off with the Q&A. A quick question for Jawad from Ziad Sharmoush. He says, Salamat, thank you. Any updates about the eviction case in court?
Again, which area? I mean, Silwan?
In Silwani.
Yeah, we have now today there was Al Bustan area where there are almost 100 houses are threatened to be destroyed, and because the settlers say, or through the municipality, that they want to make a national park for the King Solomon garden. So that is still in the court. It was postponed like 6 months, but this now I think we have another 3 or 4 months, and that about El Bustan, and they still, I mean, they from time to time they destroy house here, house there, but in general that El Bustan is now, and they did not demolish yet, and it's because of changing the American administration, because there's a little bit of pressure on the Israeli government not to demolish houses in Bustan and not to, and Sheikh Jarrah as well. And there is another neighborhood called Batn al Hawa, is the same issue like Sheikh Jarrah, also about 70 families supposed to be evicted for the settlers to get over to take their houses. And we have another neighborhood called Wadi Yasul in Silwan also, that there are about 86 houses supposed to be demolished in order to make a national forest for the. And there's also another neighborhood called Wadi Rababe. There are about 50 houses supposed to be demolished. So the settlers and all the Israeli official and non-official authorities, they are working day and night, and in order to get the city of David done, because for them city of David is in Wadi Hilwa, but still they are talking about what is around the city of David. And for the city of David, for them is there's a settler say no Israel without Jerusalem and no Jerusalem without city of David. So and it is also supposed to be the southern entrance for the Temple Mount when they destroy Al-Aqsa and build the Temple Mount. So they want to hurry to do this project because it's on the southern side of the wall, and this is the most important area for them in order to prepare the entrance to the Temple Mount. And moreover, we have also the project of the cable car. They try to do it over Silwan, especially Wadi Hilwa, and this was also a very crazy project that does not serve any Palestinian. They say it is solving the transportation in East Jerusalem, but the cable car is going from West Jerusalem to the city of David settlement. It doesn't serve any Palestinian. So in order to use this cable car, you need to take taxi to West Jerusalem to use it to go to, but where, to Silwan again. And there is also the project about the digging the tunnels under our houses. You can see the cracks also. If you put cracks in Silwan tunnels, Google it, you will see the houses. We have almost 70 houses had been destroyed from the demolishing under our house, from the digging under our houses in order to make the story of city of David. They take you a tour and they tell you touch the stone. Ask them, where is the proof that King David was here? They tell you touch the stone. I did touch the stone 100 times. I didn't feel anything. So they tell you touch the stone and you will feel King David. You will feel this. So I mean, if you have a little bit of humanity, you will see what is a crazy story. This is the situation more or less, and we accepting now in the next days that the clinic in Silwan will be demolished also. That the clinic is serving 6,000 Palestinians in Silwan, supposed to be demolished in the next few days. That is the situation at the moment in Silwan, more or less, I mean, about the demolishing.
Thank you, Jawad. I have another question for you, but I'm going to get back to it. There's a question in here for Jody. You mentioned that you've been involved with teaching Palestine to youth in the US. How do the youth typically respond? And are there any big takeaways you've seen from teaching Palestine in classrooms?
I can tell you two stories. One is when I was teaching high school myself, I was teaching a group of English language learners, and I did a unit on borders and walls. And to start, I started with a gallery walk where I had pictures of all these different borders and walls in Palestine, at the US-Mexico border, the Great Wall in China. And I had a student in my class who was from Germany. So I had the Berlin Wall, and there were pictures there of the Berlin Wall when it was up, and there were pictures of them pulling it down. And one of my students was from Mexico, and she looked at the pictures of the Berlin Wall. She looked at the pictures of the wall in Palestine. She looked at the US-Mexico border wall, and she asked me, how do we pull these other walls down? So there's something about looking at things in an international perspective that it's really strengthening. And the workshops we've had with teachers about teaching Palestine have really been deep and exciting. And I think for youth, it's really, really helpful, because we're in a white settler state. The US is a settler state. But we're here. It can be hard to understand what that really means. And so looking at another settler state and kind of comparing what's similar, what's different, it makes you understand that, it's not about you, that it's a bigger system, and that you can actually come up with a strategy to fix it. I found that it's really empowering, that for kids who are struggling with criminalization of youth in the US, talking about what's happening to youth in Palestine and how they're responding and how they're developing resistance has been really empowering. So, yeah.
Thanks, Jody. Jawad, on sort of the topic of like youth and responding to sort of the situations, and there's an interesting question in here. So this summer, we saw another surge of Israeli violence against Palestinians, but also a massive surge in resistance, organizing, and unity, both in Palestine and in the diaspora. What did this moment, after the evictions in Sheikh Jarrah were being resisted, and then what happened in Gaza as well, what did this moment look like in Silwan? How did the youth respond? And what was the situation like at the Metacultural Center? What were the takeaways for you from that moment?
Look, first of all, Sheikh Jarrah is a very small area. It's 28 families. So it was massive struggle during this time and the aggression in Gaza. So you can imagine the Sheikh Jarrah people alone cannot do this. So there were another people coming from other neighborhoods. So Silwan was involved very much in Sheikh Jarrah. So you would see many Silwanis there. So the first four people who were arrested in Sheikh Jarrah were from Silwan. So you can see that today, what I find it good, that what the occupation tried to divide us to divide our struggle from area to another with different agenda. In the first Intifada, we were all the same. We had the same goal. And after Oslo agreement, they started to divide us into groups. So this is area with the wall, the other area with settlements, the other area with the tunnels, and so on. But the time that came, this is during Sheikh Jarrah issue, that you could see that from all over Jerusalem came to Sheikh Jarrah. And when something happened in Silwan, that all they come to Silwan. When something happened in Isawi, people go to Isawi. But that also during the clashes and all the problems that were happening in Sheikh Jarrah, it was also in Silwan. But the media and the social media did not focus a lot on Silwan. And still, I mean, we have the aggression daily, and the collective punishment in Silwan is every day. So it's very difficult to have a day in Silwan without arresting, without collective punishment, without demolishing. So every day there is something happening. And of course, the minute that it's quiet, I mean, even we sometimes people started to go to work and started to go the so-called normal life back. The Israelis remind us there is occupation. The Israelis does something very big that reminds us there is occupation, and you see people going out again and struggling. So the fact that I think it's time is over for saying that that Palestinians will stop struggling against occupation. It's over because the mentality of what Judy was talking about, the little Sarah, when she said, "I lost the fear." This is one of the things that we did not want, that our children lose the fear, because once you lose the fear, also you become hopeless also in a way. So we want our children to be normal children and not to lose the fear. But Israelis succeeded to make them lose the fear. You can see the children, little children, go very close to the soldiers. They, of course, I mean, they do not think about it very carefully, but in the minute they know, they see how the behavior of the Israeli soldiers, how the behavior of the settlers. I mean, bringing little children from police bring they let the little children from the children of the settlers to provoke Palestinians in the middle of the Damascus gate. And if there is a child saying something to these children, they will arrest Palestinian children. And that happens also in Sheikh Jarrah. When the settlers attacked Sheikh Jarrah several times, they did not arrest any Israeli. They didn't arrest any settler. They were arrested Palestinians, and the violation was used against Palestinians. So, I mean, no one can say today, no one can say that Israel is a little bit democratic. Is if you don't want to consider it dictatorship, it's okay, but it's fascism here in Israel. It's fascism. It's like it's Franco, the same copy of Franco.
Thank you, Jawad. I really love what you said, especially about the children and losing their fear. That's sat really really heavy with me. Another question that comes is what this event is being co-sponsored by Jewish Voices for Peace. What is the most important thing your Jewish allies in the States, but also in other places, can do for the cause of Palestinian liberation, for Silwan, besides donating, besides talking to people? What do you see as the most critical intervention they could be making?
Question for me or for Judy?
For you.
Again, can you? I mean, I thought you were asking about Jewish Voice for Peace. Again, can you do it? Ask it again.
All good. The question is, what do you want to see from Jewish people in the United States who support Palestine? What would be the most important thing that they can do aside from donating or joining the BDS movement or talking to their families? What other interventions would you like people to make?
Look, I wouldn't tell them things they cannot do. I mean, I don't know what they can do there in USA. I really don't know. I know they do a lot of work, like what Judy is doing she wrote a book, and she spent some time with us in Silwan, and she saw it by her eyes. We did not convince her to say what she said, and we did not tell her to say what we said. So she saw it, and she came to tell it. I think one of the most important things is to do like Judy, to tell. It's not, I mean, it's to tell, to talk openly, and to even those who are on the side of the settlers. That, I mean, look, today, if you want to say, I mean, that like I say it again and again. The settlers are the spoiled, I don't know, the spoiled child of the occupation, the spoiled child of the Western governments. They can do everything. So, I mean, they should be convinced that those settlers are much more dangerous because they consider Hamas is dangerous organization and Hezbollah is dangerous organization, but they don't see that those settlers are much more dangerous on the state of Israel. What they say is state of Israel, that because this is the illness, the diseases that comes from the state of Israel and from inside. So if even some Jews would like to save their state, they can stop and saying to the American government there, at least to stop paying these taxes to the settlers. They should have much more control. Who's the stupid one that I say I buy Miskovich buying houses for poor people in Silwan? I mean, how could the stupid American state or this governor, I don't know, believe this thing? Miskovich is buying houses for poor people in Silwan. I mean, he knows he doesn't believe it, and he knows it's not true. So you have to make it much clearer there that this money is used for putting pressure on Palestinians. It's for a criminal organization that it's working even according to the USA and international law. It is East Jerusalem. So why you invest crime in East Jerusalem? The American money, tax money payer, they invest crime in East Jerusalem. And I think this message, if you can pass it, we will be grateful if you can pass it to wherever you can pass it in this USA.
Thank you, Jawad. I'm gonna give us time for 2 more questions, and this one is for both of you. Since you guys worked together on Determined to Stay, since you guys have talked a lot about teaching youth and working with youth, do you have any other ideas, any other projects or maybe trips, delegations, whatever, for promoting the resistance in Silwan and Palestine more generally? And this is a question for both of you.
You can talk, Judy, and then I'm
Okay. Well, at this point, I think that that getting Determined to Stay into schools and book groups and stuff like that that's one of my goals. That's one of Teach Palestine's goals for the next period of time, because we think that it is a way to kind of bring Silwan to life and initiate a conversation, and not just about Silwan, but about all of Palestine. And a couple of years ago, the co-coordinator of the Teach Palestine project, Sammy Shulman, and I took a group of teachers to Palestine, including to Silwan. And we hope to do that again, but we have to wait for COVID to kind of, for it to be safer to do that kind of travel. We're hoping sometime in 2023. But if you're a teacher and you're interested in that, sign up for the Teach Palestine project mailing list on our website, which is teachpalestine.org, and we'll be in touch. And that's actually a good place to look for what's happening. And this is probably a good time to say that, like, if you're interested in teaching Palestine or using Determined to Stay in a book group you're in, please don't hesitate to contact me directly. I'd be happy to talk to you and help make it happen. I'll put my my email in the chat again.
I guess Judy answered for both of us, and I think it's like there was a group. I don't know, before the COVID-19, there was a group that has been sent by, how you call it, the Jewish National Fund, that it's organizing trips to Palestine showing them about, of course, about the Israeli story and so on. And some of those students decided to come to Silwan and to listen to us. So that moment that where the settlers were really completely like against this, how could happen and so on. So I think organizing more delegations, and we have today, I want to tell you something about our Wadi Halwa Information Center. I have a hearing now by the end of this month about the demolishing of Wadi Halwa Information Center. So, I mean, this, it's, if you wanna also do any story about this Wadi Halwa Information Center, because Wadi Halwa Information Center it's only a very simple wooden room, also that also used for the community when they want to have meeting. We don't have any place here to get when we have meetings, things like this. So maybe, and what Judy said, I think it's good.
It sounds like there's going to be more collaboration in the future then. I know I said one more question after this, but there's actually one that I was curious about too. Somebody asked, Jawad, you're talking about somebody who's purchasing houses in Silwan for settlers Moscovich. People are interested in looking it up and getting some more information. I don't know if I'm saying the right name, but could you maybe give a little background on that?
Moscovich is a rich Jewish guy living in Las Vegas. He has casinos there. He died, but his son is still supporting the national the antique how do you say, the excavation in Silwan. So he was used also to do every year a kind of conference in Silwan in stolen land from Palestinian to make every year a kind of ceremony to celebrate the excavation in Silwan and showing the story of Elad. And his son is continuing to do this. There are more names, but if you want, I think I can, if people are interested, I can send you an email more about this issue, explaining more or giving you some links.
Yeah, send it to me, Jawad, and I'll share it with everybody who signed up.
All right.
That would be great.
Great, thank you all. Jawad, last question goes to you. There's a photograph on the wall behind you of a woman.
Other way.
Other way.
This one?
No, the
No,
other
the other way.
This is my mother.
This is your mother.
This is my mother.
Yeah, they wanted to know who it was. Okay. Sure. So what's her name?
Munira.
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 Great. Well, I think that's all the time we have, folks. Thank you all so much for attending. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please put your appreciations for Jawad and Jody in the chat. We'll be following up with an email that has all the solidarity asks, all the links to where you can buy Determined to Stay, information that Jawad is going to be providing us. That'll also be follow up doing that email, so you guys don't have to go back up and copy and paste and everything. And yeah, for anybody who has any questions, you can feel free to email us. And yeah, thank you so much for being a fantastic audience. Thanks for the great questions. Jawad, thank you so much for coming all the way from Silwan to give us this talk. And
thanks to Leanne, who did the tech, and Mark and Ellen and Larry and Donna, who did a bunch of work in the background, and to Wassim for moderating. Lots of love, Jawad. Give our love to everybody in Silwan. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Wassim. Shukran, Wassim.
Bye, you all.
Jawad, shufak.
Thank you.
Awesome. See you guys.
Be well. Have a good rest of the day.
Bye. Thanks.